We're here at Go-To Cycle, and today we're going to show you how to assemble a set of chrome enforcer wheels. So let's move in a little closer and see what we've got to work with on the table. Starting on the left, we've got the inner wheel bearing spacers, 2 ABS bearings, 2 non-ABS bearings, a rubber valve stem, and a metal valve stem. Note that these wheel bearing spacers are different. There is a front and rear, so make sure that you have them in the correct wheel. Note that the ABS bearings have one side that is green and the other side is red or possibly blue. Also note that the widths are different. The ABS bearing is 18 millimeters wide. The non-ABS bearing is 15 millimeters wide. So we're going to be using the Bolt 25 millimeter wheel bearing installer, the backing plate, one nut, one washer, one thrust bearing. So it's important to note that the threads of the bolt must be greased so that you don't damage them during installation. It's also a good idea to apply a thin layer of grease to the wheel bearings to ease them going into the wheel. Easy way to check is just drop it over the installation tool and it's that one. So the first thing we have to do is identify the primary side of the wheel. In this particular case, the primary side is identified by the dot markings on the wheel. That means we're going to install the ABS bearing first on the left side of the wheel. So we have greased the bolt, and then we're going to install the backing plate onto the bolt. Install that into the wheel. So next we have had the wheel bearing in the freezer for about an hour to shrink it a little bit. We're going to install the wheel bearing with the green side facing out onto the wheel bearing installer. Place that over the bolt. Install the thrust bearing. Install the washer and thread on the nut. Just checking to make sure that we have the green side facing out. If you don't, you will get an ABS warning light. So now we are ready to tighten the bolt and seat the bearing into the bore. And you can feel that it's seated down. We will unscrew the bolt, move the tool, and do the other side. So now you can see that the ABS bearing has been seated. Just like before, have the backing plate on the bolt. Insert that from the opposite side. We've already installed the bearing. Insert the wheel bearing spacer. Have the non-ABS bearing onto the installer. Insert that up to the wheel. Thrust bearing, washer, and nut. So we're going to tighten this one down, same as before, but only until it just takes up the gap in the wheel. We don't want to over torque it or we place a side load on the bearing. You may need to back out the tool to check every so often. Better to go not far enough rather than too far. And you can hear we still have space in there. Still a little bit to go. A little bit of resistance. And the gap is gone. So here you can see that the non-ABS wheel bearing is installed. Bearing has no gap. And we're done. So we're going to be installing a rubber pull-through type valve stem on this wheel. To install it, insert it through the valve hole, screw it into the tool, and then pull it through. So there you have it. We have one Chrome Enforcer wheel assembled and ready for tire installation. We'll come back once the tire is installed and show you how to install the brake discs. The tire has been installed and now we're ready to go ahead and install the brake discs. So the hardware we're going to use to install the brake rotors, starting at the top, are the bushings, the spring washers, and the bolts with pre-applied Loctite. So we're going to install a wave washer onto each bushing. And then we'll start the screws into each of the holes loosely. And we'll run these down until they're snug. Now we'll go ahead and torque each of these bolts to 16 to 24 foot-pounds. And by the way, the Torx bolt is a T40. Tighten these in a star pattern. and recheck it, make sure you haven't missed one. Repeat that for the other side, and we're done. This wheel is assembled.